Now this is a picture of them actually prepping their tent site, and I'm not sure if this is on the hill, if this is specifically the day of the event, or if this is a different site. However, what I do find interesting is from this picture, it appears that they actually dig down into the snow and kind of hollow out a point for their tent. You can see they've got their skis all racked up all back here, and they're essentially getting ready to pitch their tent. But I believe they actually dig into the snow to do that. That's going to come into play here when we start looking at facts about avalanches. Loose snow avalanches account for only a small percentage of deaths and property damage. Slab avalanches, the most lethal, are cohesive plates of snow sliding as a unit. So right here on the first point, we kind of get to the first thing that I find that tells me the avalanche theory cannot be completely ruled out. There are different types of avalanches, and in particular, a loose snow avalanche, which fits the timing. We know that they were just in fresh snowfall. That would not necessarily kill them, and it seems like obviously they weren't killed in the tent. So I'm starting to feel, and this is just my theory at this point, but this is where I'm at after reviewing all this information today. I feel like there was a small avalanche event, probably a loose snow avalanche as this is describing, that took out either half or most of the tent. I believe they were all in there because their clothing was not suggesting that any of them were outside. Like I mentioned, only one of them, I believe, had one shoe on. Everyone else was barefoot. So I think that they were all inside of the tent at that time. And I think maybe they were already nervous because they knew that they were in bad weather conditions. Maybe they had even spoken about the fact that they were on a sloped hill and potentially an avalanche could happen. I think this minor event triggered them, scared them badly enough, and obviously covered up their doorway to the tent. Somehow their thought, their rational thinking was not, well, we should just go out the door. They had to grab for a cutting instrument and cut through the tent to get themselves out. So for some reason they felt trapped within the tent, and I think a small avalanche might have been able to provide that reason. Each year, avalanches kill more than 150 people worldwide, so the fact that an avalanche could have occurred is likely. Now, obviously, I'm saying it didn't kill them, but if 150 people get killed every single year, the potential for avalanches to happen while there are people around is extremely high, and there's a reason for that. Point 3, in 90% of avalanche accidents, the victim or someone in the victim's party causes the snow slide. Now, worth noting, in the information I've found, it is not usually caused by sound at all. I think that's kind of a television or movie myth that has somehow kicked up around this. But I just want to call your attention back to this picture. My theory at this point is if they were digging in to the snowpack on a sloped ridge, that they might have created enough of a hole that some of the snow slid onto the tent and essentially triggered a small avalanche that scared them into what happened next. This is an article, I did a search on death by avalanche because I just wanted to get a sense of what could happen. 56 avalanche deaths were identified in a period from 1989 to 2006 in Utah. And most of them happened when people were participating in recreational backcountry activities. 85.7% of the deaths were due to asphyxiation. 8.9% were due to a combination of asphyxiation and trauma, and 5.4% were due to trauma alone. What I'm wondering here is if there was a small avalanche event, is it possible that that event potentially hurt the people that died of trauma? And maybe their team members helped move them out from the tent, got them to the first place where they tried to start a fire, Maybe they figured that the people were too hurt to go much further, so they tried to move them to a place where they were going to build a shelter. And apparently they did find what looks like another dug-in spot and some cedar branches that it looked like they were trying to use as flooring in this area here. Maybe they did that while Igor decided he was going to go back and try to get their supplies and shoes mainly. I mean, most of these people didn't even have shoes. Another interesting point is the two bodies that were found in their underclothing, some clothes that belonged to them were found on other bodies. So part of what I'm thinking is they all left as a team here, and actually, it's worth bringing this up now. On beforeitsnews.com, there's an article where this person goes into his thoughts about what possibly happened there. And I don't have any information to back this. I couldn't find a great source on it, but he does say that once they were out of the tent, the tracks show that everybody ran more or less together for almost a mile to a cedar tree before stopping. So if that is true, then I think the story that maybe they were hurt in the avalanche event, they all continued together for a mile to this point, decided they had to stop, maybe because the trauma was too severe to the people that died from it, tried to start a fire here. 2 people expire due to the freezing, and that scares the group enough that they know they can't stay at this point anymore. They need to go try to create a filter or a shelter, or possibly the group even divides at this point. The leader of the group is in this pack out here. So it's possible that there was some dissension at this point, although 3 of these people having traumatic injuries and only one of them dying from the cold leads me to believe that this might have been part of a plan, that Igor might have said, get them out to an area where you can build a shelter, keep yourselves warm, I'm going to go back and get our stuff and I will come back and find you guys. But that's what I think. I think here we have the first people that are dying from freezing, and apparently that can happen very quickly. We're talking from somewhere between 15 minutes to an hour. Just for them to go 1 mile, they were probably already exposed for at least, I mean, even if you're running that, considering some of them were injured, I would figure that they were out there already at least 10 to 15 minutes at a minimum, probably more like 20 to 30 minutes before they even got to this point. So all of a sudden, 2 of them go down, and I think the rest realize, uh-oh, we're in trouble. They tried to take the clothing from these 2, which is why they're found only in their underwear, and they continue on. These 3 say, we're going to go back and get our supplies. At least, that's my thought. Just did more information on types of avalanches. There are many different types, but the loose snow avalanches explained here occurs at the surface when the snow is new. We know that that's kind of the condition that they were in. More commonly known as the wet spring snow, starts when something triggers it and spreads out as it traverses. This is a gentle and usually safe type of avalanche. It does not gather enough snow on the way to be able to kill or bury a person. The other theory about their injuries, I think I mentioned it already, but just in case I didn't, is that they fell. I don't think that theory holds up very well because of the amount of force that was caused to them, and I believe that a fall would also show soft tissue damage in that way. So I have a feeling that it was the loose snow avalanche situation, but maybe it was strong enough to actually hurt them with how it impacted them while they were in the tent. I don't know for sure, but I think that being impacted by snow, we know that it can cause traumatic injuries enough to kill someone because of the other article, but I don't know that it would necessarily damage your soft tissues. I think because it's all coming on as one force, that your soft tissues will actually stay relatively protected, and those become the opposing force that damages the internal bones and organs. But I'm not a doctor, it's just my theory after looking at all this. I think that is pretty much all I have to cover with you guys on this. I did want to end on wikipedia.org. They're also supporting the aspect that it could have been an avalanche. One supporting factor for this theory is that avalanches are not uncommon on any slope that accumulates snow. So once again, refuting that claim from earlier. Actually, they do it right here. Despite claims that the area is not prone to avalanches, slab avalanches do typically occur in new snow and where human activity is disrupting the snowpack. On the night of the incident, snow was falling, the campsite was situated on a slope, and the campers were disrupting the stability of the snowpack. The tent is also halfway torn down and partially covered with snow, all of which could support the theory of a small avalanche pushing snow into the tent. Possibly negating the avalanche scenario is that investigators saw footprints leading from the campsite with no obvious avalanche damage noted. However, the footprints could have been preserved if there was no precipitation in the 25 days before the site was discovered, and the supposed avalanche happened after most of the snow fell. This is another thing that I keep seeing as well, it couldn't have been an avalanche because we saw their footprints. This states it very well. Avalanche happens, they get out, make their footprints, no snow happens after that to cover it up. It is perfectly feasible, and I don't see the fact that their footprints were visible as any type of excuse for the possibility of an avalanche not occurring. What it does make as a valid point is nobody noted what looks like damage from an avalanche. Usually an avalanche will move in a big section and you will see where it runs off. There's kind of an area where everything stops rolling. Now, my gut is telling me that that area is likely the actual campsite. This is the end of where the small avalanche is happening. You can see the snow around it. All here is pretty smooth, but this looks disturbed to me. These are big chunks, and particularly on top. This doesn't look to me like that is snow that happened from naturally falling and landing on top of the tent. That looks to me like some kind of event threw chunks of this snow onto the tent. But as I've stated several times, I'm no expert. However, if any of you are, I'm looking forward to your input on this. I know that there is a ton of theories and other information on this. I think I've covered most of them in this initial video, but if I haven't, let me know about it in the comments below. We can always do a follow-up video if I see that there is a subject meaty enough to get into there. And I'm looking forward to hearing your theories. This is a very popular story. I had many commenters suggest it for an episode of BrainScratch, so here it is. Hope you're happy with it, and I hope you are all having a great week. I will catch you next time on Geek and Dork's YouTube channel. Take care.